Okay, I'm going to walk through how to replace a front CV shaft on a 900 Polaris Ranger. First thing we need to do is jack this thing up. Wheels free. The lug nuts on these are 19 millimeter. Wheels off there. Next, we'll take this brake caliper off. Brake caliper bolts are a 15 millimeter. Set that up and out of the way. So you can see on this one, this boot was torn on it. Honestly, it's cheaper just to replace a whole shaft than just a boot. That's the easy way to fix them. Next, we'll pull out these bolts that hold the hub onto the ball joints. Those are also a 15 millimeter with a 15 millimeter nut on the back side. We'll loosen those up. One on the top, one on the bottom. Those just slide right out. That one's stuck. Also going to remove the tie rod here. On this one, it happens to be an aftermarket kind of high extension ball joint. So these have a 6 millimeter Allen head on the top and a 17 millimeter nut on the bottom. That's off and out of the way. We'll pull off this retaining nut for the CV shaft. There's a cotter pin here. Pull that out of the way first. These are usually a 27 millimeter nut. Sometimes they're a 28, kind of depending on what axles are in it. This one's the 27. That's loose. So now the next thing we're going to do is pop these A-arms off. What works best on these is a good punch and a good hammer. Just like that. And the same thing on the top one. And that's it. Okay, the whole hub and everything's off. The only thing holding these CV shafts on is a little retaining clip inside there. So usually, if you get them kind of nice in line and give them a big old tug, they'll yank right out. So this one's not wanting to go right away. So another trick that I like to do is take the hub and rotor, slide that back on, and then thread your nut on, back on just loosely, and this will slide on here. This will act as a slide hammer. It works kind of nice. You get a little more leverage and weight on there. And just like that, one good yank comes out. So that's the retaining clip that holds those in. Okay, so now we got the thing out. Now we can put a new one back in. It's always good to add a little grease or some anti-seize or something like that onto the end of this shaft. Keeps that little retaining ring from freezing up and making it less of a problem for the next guy. Also, it seems like on these Polarises, these front CV shafts really like to rust out right there too, and those splines will just get eaten away and they won't grab anymore. So this slides back in there, and we're gonna tap it. You know, the biggest thing is put your nut make sure that your nut's on so you don't damage the threads. We'll get this thing kind of lined up. Give it a couple whacks, and it's in there. The nut prevents the threads from getting damaged when you're smacking on. This hub back on there. Ball joint back in its spot. On our bolt back through there. Put our nut back on. Just leave that loose for now. Same thing up here. Attach our tie rod back on. Okay. Tighten up all of our retaining bolts for the ball joints. Those are the 15 millimeter with 15 millimeter nut. Put the hub back on. I usually end up keeping the old washers from the old CV shafts. It seems like new ones only come with one washer, and it's not quite enough to get that nut far enough out to grab the cotter pin. This new nut is a 28 millimeter though. Tighten that down. Throw a cotter pin back in it. Bend that in whichever configuration you like. Put our brake caliper back on. All right, just need to throw the wheel back on and we're done. All done.